See, look, I know that there's a lot of things that you could theoretically be doing with your week. If it's the end of April, the beginning of May, or even the end of May, there might be some school stuff in there. You might be trying to transition into vacation. There's a lot of things you could be doing with your time, but instead, it's an MF and Wednesday night. But it's going to be a good one because you get to spend it with Adam and I. Welcome back to the finale. I'm Jacob. He's Jazzman. We did this duo, how long has it been? I think it's been like 2 months since Challenger, but we both also just got back from Virginia for our good friend's wedding. So, dude, are you sufficiently recovered from Richmond at this point?
Hell no. I am sort of hungover and my voice is completely gone. So this is going to be a very interesting one for sure. But I'm glad they stuck us up with a pretty good game here between QOR and Hakikimori. I'm very excited to get into this, honestly. It is a great series between two top teams in this league and two teams that just got invited to Element 5. So it's a T2 team officially.
I guess the big question is, because the invites just happened, how seriously do they want to take a game in the finale? But Focal, I think, just tweeted a couple days ago, or I think it was just yesterday, they just finally had a really good productive round of scrims. So now is a pretty good time to see whether what happens in scrims actually translates to game day. And there's going to be a name in here that we will butcher a couple of times. One, because it's brand new to us and we just have to get used to saying it in caster vernacular. And second, because it's 5 syllables long and I don't know how we can shorten it. So if you're wondering where Revelations went, Hakikimori is now the team that they're with. So we'll see how fast we're able to incorporate that into our lingo here.
I'm completely able to understand that name without ever having to worry about it and butcher it. So you guys can have fun catching up. I, on the other hand, am completely fine with this. But yeah,
well,
it is cool.
It's our job to get it right, to be fair.
Yeah, but we got rosters coming up between both these teams. I think they both really want to get into it. But yeah, we talked about QOR and their scrims. There's a lot going here for QOR.
So again, Inrio is the only original QOR player from that Challenger elimination left. They are 3-0, only having lost one map over the past 3 series. They've still got 2 games to go. Spiff and Rival have both had maps of 15 or more kills already through the course of those 3 series, so they're having themselves a good one. And the only map that they've lost so far over the course of the finale was in overtime after they forced a comeback, and that was in the very first game that they've played. So they've been down before, they've been up with dominating leads before, and right now they are poised to be the first team out of XGS division to qualify for playoffs.
Yep, they are a stacked squad for sure, but I think that going into this game rather against Hakikimori, I don't think that they actually have what it takes to really kind of put up the same number of caliber right now that Hakikimori did, and that's just kind of because of course previous results. If you look at the makeups of their roster, they're kind of just not a good team compared to like Hakikimori in terms of what CL results have shown and what Element results have shown. But I don't want to be the one to just bog down QOR. But Hakikimori, a very strong team. Mr. B recited, Mike W, Vil, and Kento. While the finale is a different playing ground, I'm guessing kind of getting to my point. While the finale is a different playing ground where you have a lot of tier 3 teams, for QOR, this is the real test. I'm still convinced that QOR is sort of that nightmare team that went 2 and 3, right? They have to break that mold. They have 2 very great players now around them with Inrio and Franklin. But Hakikimori is where the real test comes in here. Playing up against a Mr. B squad, playing up against the second best team in T2, up until JJ got promoted to T1. It's going to be quite the challenge.
We'll go over maps as soon as we've got them in here. And something to note, it's a challenge for both squads. For QOR, obviously, you want to play against the best, and Hakikimori is still one of the best teams, even if the logo is different. But both games the Revelations have played so far have been against teams that needed to have a sub come in for the finale. So they've not played a full-strength squad that had everything all dialed in with the same 5 stack that they were used to. So we'll see how the bands play out in order to give us Hakikimori's first official actual game with that org branding. And ultimately, I'm curious whether does the new org curse happen a lot in tier 2? I mean, orgs don't come into tier 2 that often, but is that about to be a problem they're going to have to overcome?
I wonder if, and it's the same thing with QOR. I mean, technically they were 3/5 Nightmare, and that is kind of the story going into this game, is that you have this old Nightmare squad looking to reinvent themselves under a new brand and a new team. But you've got Clubhouse and Border being your picks. QOR have actually been doing very well at Clubhouse so far in the finale. They beat Space Tube 7-1 and Soar 7-4. So actually basically 2 Space Tubes rosters if you really think about it. But yeah, to completely honestly their best map so far in this entire league. So excited for QOR. And again, I kind of wanted to hit back my comment. Like I was saying, I still think that QOR have a ton to prove. And I think playing up against Hakikimori is going to be the perfect sort of battle against that, because it is just such a good team so far throughout what we've seen, even though they've made roster moves now.
Yeah, everything in the finale is just going to be a test, because not only are there changes that are coming in CGX that will define a little bit more about how teams are meant to play, aka every Clash clip I've seen over the past 3 nights, but there's also something to be said for it just being the place where you try some things out before you then go into bigger competitions, because Element 5 is right around the corner. Both these guys are going to be in it, and even if you can say you're 3-0 in the context of the finale, you still want to have a really good showing here to at least prove that, again, at least in Focal's case, that scrims have been going well. To your point, we head to Clubhouse first. Core have yet to lose that so far. They're 2-0 with what this lineup looks like. If we need the third map, that's relatively even, and when we go to map 2 for Border, that's a map that Mr. B so far has only lost once over the past several months, regardless of what lineup he's been with. So it's safe to say both teams really need to win their own map picks before we go to what I think is probably a pretty inevitable map 3 between both these teams.
I have to say, you can't ever completely count it out, right? Like, there are so many upsets that have happened. And I mean, even some of the games I've casted here in the finale, I've seen teams win on other teams' map picks and drag it to a map 3. Anything is possible, but Border is definitely going to be a difficult one. Core now playing up against Hakikimori. Clubhouse is underway. Again, Hakikimori might struggle, I think, here. Core have been having a successful run on Clubhouse so far this season. I feel like nothing changes unless Hakikimori and simply play better. That is obviously going to be the question here, now that two teams that I feel like are very much the best in their league by a complete, like, massive margin, now play up against each other.
Again, take a look at what might end up being some of the last times you ever see this version of the ban phase. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to soak it in for what it is, because if these are some of the last games that we get on this patch, with the way that bans typically play out, where you're still banning an attacker and a defender, but you're not, we're going to go into the madness of banning 3 ops on your opposing side for the rest of Siege's lifespan going forward in just about 2 weeks' time, which is crazy. So, at least for this game, Core and Hakikimori have decided no shield, no Doke, but you're still leaving a couple of good shield options on the board, and Tubrau is also gone. My big question is, do they opt for a Kaid? Do they opt for an Azami? You've got plenty of options. But as far as Club is concerned, when you're leaving Azami up for Raptors control, it's probably one of the more sane plays you could make. But nope, it is still the Cade. So Raptors will have a lot more extension capability, as well as putting Kiva barriers all around Jim to make lives a living hell for anybody who's trying to make rotates on the attack whenever they make their way back into site. But everything still looks fairly standard, but you do have plenty of options still available given the amount of operators that are in the game right now.
I don't know. I think the bans are maybe flipped, so it makes sense that Hakikimori and Kaid. Maybe I'm wrong. I know that thing still exists, but Kaid is a common ban for Revelations. Maybe they switched it up. I don't know. That's the great mystery about Siege. Sometimes you don't know what works and what does. Or what works and what doesn't, rather. I messed it up. Now I look like a fool.
Are you sure?
Did I?
You sure?
Are you sure?
Are you positive about that?
I don't know. Did I say it right the first time? I thought I messed it up. Maybe I didn't.
You know, I wasn't listening, but then that's also kind of by default when I hear you talk. So,
dude, thanks, man. Thanks. I wish someone would be nice to me for once.
I was very nice to you at the wedding.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's fine.
Though that makes me sound like the bigger egotist now, so I think I probably need to.
I was nice to you at the wedding. At least be nice to me, dude. You posted a picture of me like being shorter than you, and you edited out the fact that I was crouching. Like, you're the worst.
No, dude, that picture looks amazing.
Speaking of being nice,
you know that picture's 3 years old.
Yeah, it's so old. That was Colorado. My goodness. But yeah, speaking
dude.
about being nice, I haven't been very nice to Core so far in my pregame analysis. So I wanted to. Well, I was gonna take the time to try and like reprieve that just a little bit, but so far nothing good to talk about. As Spiff gets taken down off of the back of a pretty decisive breach in from Mr. B on pool table, using the shield to his advantage and basically just allowing for Recited to get that freebie. They went in extremely quickly, just completely cut down Spiff. They went for a sort of SSG roam that's kind of been modified now. You don't see the mute Mozzie that much, just the castle and the open moto hatch, but that gets immediately swatted, and the Hakikimori have a lot of control.
Let's see if Rival and Enrio want to come up secret and try to make noise there. They were showing it for a second, and there's still a zombie all the way top blue who might be able to catch one player up stock. But there's also still defenders upstairs. This is going to be interesting to see if Focal decides he wants to make the rotate sooner rather than later, but he will stick up top. But Vil and Kento both have 2 apiece, and Rival's now the only guy up here. He can't even force the kill from Stone, so the only guy who's left up is Focal, and he is a world away from making any difference, but he'll still make the drop. Maybe he has the opportunity for a late flank, but for Hakikimori, that's a pretty perfect execute.
Hakikimori, not a team that always plays this quick, but certainly can and has a really good pace balance whenever they need it. Just completely stepped it up on the first round. Recited, unfortunately, not getting that kill. Very cheeky angle from him, but it's an easy headshot. Vil makes it easier. Grants himself a kill again. Yeah, Hakikimori, like I said, pace control is definitely a big thing from them. They are a team that can step it up and slow it down whenever they want to. They have the capabilities not only on the players of their roster to completely frag out, but you've also just got a great IGL to kind of call that all back and tell you when you need to reset and when you can go. You can sing the praises of Hakikimori very often, but I just think that was a simple, great drone work from Mr. B and whoever was on the drone on Hakikimori to call that billiards push, and everything just went according to plan. QOR now going to have to respond. You'll see them drop the castle, potentially go for a full turtle setup.
I mean, we're already seeing what happens when you decide you want to leave a shield up in the meta as it stands right now. I mean, your options on attack, taking Dokubi off the board is smart, but you have to keep on questioning whether leaving any shields up is also, is that at all any better? And just given the way that things sit right now. So when you're able to effectively splinter the defense in 2 different sides, like Mr. B comes in, they force 1 kill quickly, then there's still Focal up top, and then there's 2 defenders that are like, do we want to come up blue real quick and try something cute? And then not only does it manifest in nothing, but even the Azami can't grab a frag. So for QOR, they just got splintered down the middle. Hakikimori are going to stick with the Blackbeard, and QOR are also going to try a site repeat. But they're not going to put nearly as much focus up top. But I think Hakikimori can still decide if they want to play quick, they can, because they've got Blackbeard and nobody reinforced dirt.
Yep. That is hilarious.
Ha ha ha
like
ha ha.
At the very least, it doesn't seem like QOR have any reinforcements, so they used it somewhere else. I am curious as to why dirt is completely soft. That's just easy open from Mr. B. See that
I'm just gonna have the tweet from Focal. Scrims went really productive in my head whenever I see things like that happen. Just
I mean, hey, let's benefit of the doubt. Maybe they reinforced something useful. You can see the moto hatch.
We're only on round 2. I'm not gonna give him too much crap for it yet. No.
Yeah. See that the moto hatch is reinforced, unlike the last round. Obviously, the castle not being alive was an indicator of that. I said that this would be kind of a turtle strat, but 3 core players are upstairs. Vil is going to have a tough time tracking all 3. So if this roam clear doesn't work out well, Hakikimori are going to rely pretty heavily on their execute. They have a Ying, they have that Blackbeard to potentially walk down dirt, and you also have 2 grenades to clear out any utility. Like, there's so much to go for here for Hakikimori, but it's where they want to go in from, because they have a lot of different options here. Focal's been spotted on this roam, so now Hakikimori know that they're going to have to worry about these roamers.
Yeah, you still put 1 roamer upstairs if you want, because you know the attack has to force that 1 player out. Otherwise, he could have the round-winning flank from really any position. So he'll stick up top, and Blackbeard is... Ooh, he meets his maker by impact nade and then a vector. And there's still a little bit more dirt pressure, but now that's a really big operator off the board. Untraded frag, though. Franklin's left the lobby, but you've still got Focal upstairs, so it's still 3 players on site, and QOR still has the option to rotate back down whenever they need to, but now Focal's been taken down, so Hakikimori have done the work that they need to. They're just not going to have Franklin to work with, as they have 55 seconds left. Still plenty of utility to work from vertical, and they've also got... Azami's been grimmed. So all the utility at their disposal they can still use in this execute phase, and Hakikimori just have to make sure that they don't run out of time.
There's really nothing to stop Hakikimori from just getting a 1-for-1 inside of blue, unless Spiff can go huge with a Mossberg. He is completely all alone. Inrio goes down. The Kento Spiff does get his 1, but he is the only one remaining inside of Armory or even near it. He's still alive inside of Gen. I've been proven wrong. Potentially this round is still winnable, but it's a 2 versus 2. Recited, he is completely stuck. He might have to run through this fire because the Goyo just got popped. He's all alone as well, as Vil's not able to win his kill. Rival gets the 2. Inside of B3, there's nothing that he can do. Recited is stuck. 1 versus 2 with no HP to his name. Yeah, this round's over. It burns up in flames just like the Goyo fire did near him. No one on core is going to bite. It's an easy round win from them. Great recovery off the 3 versus 4. Spiff staying alive inside a generator. Absolutely crucial. Made me eat my own words. And core, they retrieve a round.
So when you see Legion, go grab Legion. You even had the Jackal to try and go upstairs to deal with him as fast as possible. But the attack then has to worry about where the Legion is, and you're not able to focus on the site execute proper until there's so much time already exhausted and utility also spent trying to clear one roamer out of sight. So even if it wasn't a full SSG roam, it didn't need to be, because Focal upstairs was able to outlast for about half the round, and then after Franklin DCs, there's still plenty of time for them to stall out for the rest of the round at that point. So it'll even things back up. Won't give us a second to get Franklin back in the lobby, but overall, it feels like both rounds have been relatively straightforward. And also goes to show that if you can keep your Blackbeard alive for past the first engagement, then you have a much better chance of winning. But if you lose the Blackbeard early, like Mr. B, I think he was the first one on Hakikimori to die that fast. So suddenly you don't have that to use, and you lose what is typically a pretty big crux operator for when you're trying to go through a really tight choke point like Dirt. They gave it a shot. Didn't quite work out, but I would also expect that Hakikimori are probably going to be pretty comfortable just sticking to shields, because they've still got 2 really good options up right now.
Yeah, it is kind of just like the easy thing to say, but it is absolutely true. I just think that, core being able to hold out Dirt like that just completely ruined any chance of that blue Dirt push going in the way that they wanted it to. Recited was stuck outside with a Goyo Fire because they didn't even really have to use that, considering how early Mr. B died. They just had free pressure on Dirt without really like a lot of util. But on the other side, I think that Hakikimori just kind of struggled whenever it came to actually getting those frags from above, especially clearing out Inrio. You had all the intel in the world, you had all the util in the world to potentially spot out Inrio. Unless he was in like a mute jammer's radius, he should have been grim pinged, and he should have been blind. So there's a lot of ways that Inrio should have been cleared out. But the only, I think, sent one player down blue on that hatch, which I didn't think was going to happen. I thought that Hakikimori were going to trade that player blue, which would have made a lot more sense. Even if, Spiff had died, that attacker was likely going to also get punished, considering the presence that was over towards that blue door. So you don't take a chance there. You want to go for that trade. So just doesn't seem like it made a lot of sense to me in that push. The dirt push had a lot of substance, even though the Goyo Fire was completely cutting it off. So it didn't really matter in the end of the day, and that blue trade just didn't exist. So in the end, Hakikimori just didn't really have to play that all. Or sorry, Core rather didn't really have to play that all that well. It just kind of came down to the individual skills, which both Spiff and Rival were able to bring.
The problem with having a tech pause on round 3 is that we've already gone through all of the analysis we probably could have done for the first 2 rounds already. So, Jazz, how are you? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to send it to a break, Caliber Jacob. Send it to a break.
We're sending it to a break?
Send it.
Oh, you want me to send it to a break?
Send it.
I can send it to a break. We're sending it to a break. And we're back. I sent it to a break so good that they decided, you know what? Come right back because we want to hear you again, which I appreciate. Thank you, production. That's great. Everyone is back in the lobby. Franklin is probably counting his lucky stars that his team is still able to win a round without him, but it's probably not going to be very many occasions against a team like Hakikimori where you can drop mid-round and then just kind of expect the rest of your teammates to pick up the slack like that. The good news for Core, though, at least from their score lines from every other map they've played so far, they've been down in 2-5 sometimes by 4 rounds at certain points. They've also completely dominated on certain halves, and they've only lost 1 map so far with this lineup through the finale. They're 6-1. They're looking really good. I think at this point, there's almost nothing that is going to stop them from being the first seed unless something were to really horrifically happen in the XGS division between now and when the time that division play wraps up. So they can fight back from almost any circumstance, and at least in a tier 2 sense, sometimes I wonder if being down by 4 rounds is something that you can actually come back from at this level of play, but this core lineup has shown that so far they can do exactly that.
Core as well, I think, have a interesting schedule because they have their hardest game of the season, followed by probably their easiest. Playing up against the Freezer next. They're an 0-4 team who have only won a single map, unlike Core, who only lost a single map.
Unlucky.
And that would be the end of their group stage. So there's a very good chance that Core could go 5-0. Their only roadblock really standing in the way is Hakikimori, who are also flawless. Not only in game count being 2-0, but also in map count being 4-0. So, great team so far. Both teams obviously invited to Element 5. Both teams, no slouches. 10 players with a lot of caliber that can really, kind of make it to any T2 team if they really wanted to. And are honestly just miles beyond every other team in their group right now.
Hakikimori also are already making progress on the externals. Knocked out Jacuzzi, though they've just brought a Thatcher to make sure that this gets dealt with as quickly as possible. And they'll get Platwall just as fast as they got Jacuzzi, so both the externals are done. Mike W's basically done his job at this point. There's no internal hard breach will be needed while they make the rest of their push in. Mr. B is not gonna Kool-Aid man himself through the wall. Wait for Ash to come back in to make that move first, but they want to apply the red pressure, make sure that they clear out Cash first, and maybe a little bit of pressure back from Jacuzzi just because the wall happens to be open to make sure that no one sits back in that corner, but ultimately the whole push has to come from this side over, and once they clear red and Cash, then we'll see whether they're able to make their push to Jim sooner rather than later.
There's a nade over to Spiff. He's forced to rotate away and is able to do so, but not before Mike cuts him down. Not sure where that was even from Con Window. Great angle there from Mike. And now Inrio's stuck in a corner, and his entire team is falling around him. This is a surefire pick for Hakikimori. This is basically a 2 versus 5, unless Inrio could stay alive. Trades himself out, but that is 2 versus 4. Hakikimori, again, showing their speed, their aggressiveness. They can just flip it on a dime whenever they feel like it, all being led by this Blackbeard, charging into every single crevice of Core's defense. They're completely shot now. 2 versus 4, they are running on basically 2 wheels.
Franklin trying to be the next roadblock, but he did allow the Blackbeard to just slip past him, so he'll just stick in Logi and see how many players he can't take down, because now Rival's gone, but top red will find 1 frag, cutting back around the mirror window, but Mike W gets another one, so he opens with the first and the last, and Hakikimori, really effective gym defense, because, Core couldn't hold on to top red and Cash worth anything, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was a very fast push from Hakikimori. I think just dealing with Spiff there, especially, was huge. Because he was playing trade with Inrio. That was kind of the whole deal, and that's the reason why you play a player red. Not only to kind of force your attacking team to clear that if you want to go into Cash, but also because you're able to play trades, you're able to play a really strong crossfire. The moment that Spiff stepped into Cash, he was shot down. It didn't work the way he expected. All good. He was shot down from the Con window, and Inrio was just completely stuck in the corner inside of Cash, left to rot. Nothing could have saved him there. I think Ella tried. I think that was Focal. He got shot down too. Just a rough 3 versus 5 start. Hakikimori now getting 2 clubhouse attacks. Core are going to switch it up. They're going to go over to a Cash CC, which makes a lot of sense just given the operator pool that they have in their defense. They have Rival available on the Sazami, so they're going to try and take full advantage of that.
And just a reminder, with this version of the Core lineup, they have yet to lose club so far in the finale. So the more rounds Hakikimori are able to pile on in this first half, the better things are going to be when they make that side swap and suddenly Core go on the offense. You wouldn't be 2-0 on club if you didn't have your attacks at least a little bit more dialed in, unless Hakikimori has some crazy defensive strats that they want to pull out after we make the side swap. So the more that Hakikimori are able to pile on the favored side that Core are currently trying to make sure that they hold on to would be the best case scenario right now for Hakikimori. And ultimately, you know what? I'm not having a problem pronouncing that name. I think it's coming out pretty good so far.
I honestly can't see how anyone would mispronounce it.
Well, mispronounce it is one thing, but if you're like me and you talk fast a lot, to then stumble over all 5 syllables and not know how to shorten it. My W does have Mori in his Uplay, so I wonder if that's an appropriate way to shorten it. But I don't know, just caster vernacular things.
You can actually see the team cohesion of Hakikimori being utilized. 2 players have a tag, 3 of them don't, and then both of them don't have it actually correct. Like they're both just different.
You call that
He's capitalized
synergy?
on one.
All right, man.
Well, let's see. I call this an aggressive push. Look at Franklin, though. He's stuck inside a mattress. He gets rid of Kento. That's Mr. Beast's support. This is anyone's game now, but no util from Franklin to deal with this Blackbeard. It's going to be his gun. He's going to try and find an angle. And anytime Mr. B can pop up his shield or go for that melee, he's going to play it patiently. He's going to wait for his teammate to come. Nades out Franklin. Tries to flash him away.
Ooh.
Franklin completely blind. Still alive, but isn't going to remain as Vil able to tag up with Mr. B and get that trade. It's a 4 versus 4. You force Franklin out of Master. It's a free pick, but it doesn't come actually free as Kento is one to get taken down. QOR will at least equalize, but so much space taken here by Hakikimori.
Mr. B could just walk in with Blackbeard and take all that space that's already been opened up, but there is a bulletproof that is looking in his direction. Will just give constant pings because, I mean, what else is Franklin going to do now at this point? They'll open it up from 2 different sides. They've not focused on plat wall basically at all. They're opting to get more frags as they move over from con side still. That's going to be the one spot where they can plant, but they're also not focused on trying to do it with smokes. They're going to do it with frags and hope that there's not enough utility still left up for QOR to try and deny here. 30 seconds to go, only one smoke babe left, and Inrio uses it before there's even a plant down, but Hakikimori are just trying to come in and find frags quickly. They're not really sure where everybody's at. So someone on QOR could pop up at a really inopportune moment, but they just don't have any utility with which to do it. Now there's more of that red pressure. Mike W and Recited both grab one. Inrio downstairs doesn't have anything he can use to stop the plant. It's on a table, and Recited is top red to finish things off. 3 attacking rounds for Hakikimori on QOR's map pick.
Just feels like QOR don't even know what space Hakikimori are taking. Maybe the comms are offline. Like maybe someone's like power line got hit or something. The Discord's down. I don't understand what's going on, but there's so much presence that Hakikimori have on the map. And it just doesn't feel like QOR are at all aware of it, right? Mr. B is forcing them down red. You have Mike W holding the cross from CC. Naturally, you shouldn't be running up red trying to get that trade against a shield and a crossfire, but they do that. They get, cuddled up inside of red. They lose all of their pressure around the building, and it just doesn't really feel like they know where Hakikimori are. They don't know how to play it, all that well. At the same time, it doesn't really feel like QOR had a lot of util to play that right. I think that was one thing that we were kind of harping on. They didn't bring any C4s despite the fact that they had Spiff holding below. Kind of confuses me. I feel like in that case, you're going to want to bring a C4. But didn't happen. Just didn't really feel like QOR were playing around that setup all that optimally, and Hakikimori were just able to flush out Franklin with no issues whatsoever. Force their way into cash, and it just felt so easy for them.
We've already done past the bare minimum for a clubhouse attack. If QOR want to hold on to only 2 games, but it's still an undefeated streak on clubhouse. If nothing else for this series, it's their map. So if they want to avoid going to border down in what for Hakikimori has been an excellent map for Mr. B and his lineups since March. We'll have to see how fast they're able to move. But again, it's all about Blackbeard and moving as fast as humanly possible. He'll just tank the barbed wire. He's already got dirt. Is he going to go all the way through? He just tanks the smoke nade, and he's in sight, and that's going to be his downfall. Okay. Franklin will get another one, and tasked with it is Inrio. A little bit of a top blue engagement, and Vil tries to make something happen, but Hakikimori try to go quickly, and this time it doesn't work. But if Kento's got the frags, well, he almost does. QOR do respond, but it's only because there was a gap that Hakikimori had when they rushed down dirt.
Yep, I literally blinked and missed that entire round. Like, I have no idea what happened. It was just a complete rush in. Not surprising for Hakikimori. Certainly not surprising for QOR either, who are completely anticipating it. Just completely.
It's like you can try it because you've already won more attacking rounds than you needed to. So it's like, we'll try rush and just see if it works. But he just didn't stop in dirt. He just kept going.
I also think that Hakikimori are glad to just get that basement site over with because QOR have been pretty strong at holding it. But regardless, the round is over and we are now back upstairs to a site that QOR have been struggling on. So fair play to Hakikimori going for that chance. They got that site over with, I guess. It didn't go their way. Now QOR are going to go over to Gym and Bedroom, a site that they struggled with last time, with Hakikimori once again just forcing themselves in with that Blackbeard. It doesn't seem like that's going to be much different. Mr. B once again bringing that shield. All 6 rounds, Hakikimori bringing the Blackbeard. And unfortunately, QOR just banned the wrong shield, it seems like, because this Blackbeard has been doing solid work. It's not like you could ever really ban the right one. I won't lie to you. Like, there's so many applications for all 3 of the shields. I think, I mean, maybe my take on this is kind of horrible and terrible.
Steamy hot take from Jazzman R6. Go.
I think Monty is the worst shield out of all of them, just because he's not capable of fitting that sort of aggressive nature that you have with Blackbeard and Blitz when it comes to head-on gunfights. I will say there are a lot of sites where Mati performs better and maps where Mati performs better than both of the shields. But I think, like, in a general sense, both Blackbeard and Blitz are stronger. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I think that Mati... I still think that, like, the shields are, like, head and, above shoulders, like, just the best attackers in the game right now. Like,
for
regardless,
sure, yeah.
all three of them. Like, it doesn't matter how you rank them. All three are still very viable and still very good. But the Blackbeard serves a very good purpose, and that is kind of what we're seeing against Core, which is get in your face, break these trades and crossfires that Core are trying to hold. And you can see, Core are scared. They're giving Hakikimori this space. They've relinquished the cash pressure. They're not even going to struggle with trying to hold it.
Well, they just know how many bodies they lost trying to hold on to this just a couple of rounds ago. Instead, they're not going to repeat the same mistakes because they can't even make them when they're not even sitting on top red anymore. But there's not even somebody in Logi. Like, that's where Franklin was sitting before. And he has the ability to rotate back to there, but at least in that moment, he wasn't even that close. Everyone on Core is all sequestered within the same couple of square feet. Hakikimori could absolutely use that as a spacing issue, but I also figure Core is smart enough to know that they don't want to be too close to one another, and it's just a matter of what cross angles they can hold. Flores will take down the Azami utility plus any deployable shields, or, there's only so much the mute jammers can really do at this stage. So for Hakikimori, it's all about how much utility they dismantle within the next, let's say, maybe about 20 to 30 seconds before they move in. And if anyone on Core shows ahead, someone from Hakikimori is about to take it off here.
The Ash is an underrated aspect here. Able to completely go around those jammers and open up the metal windows, which kind of allow for Vil to get his drone in. So that's a pretty cool usage of the utility there from Kento, who is, like you said, just waiting for a peek right now. Hakikimori have 45 seconds left. They still have that shield up. And you can see Mr. B's actually walking up main right now. Recited gets the first pick. That's in Rio. It's been traded out. As Kento, your player inside of metal, now going to have to be replaced by Vil, and that main push is actually going to move over once more. There's 30 seconds left, and Mr. B is making the call to push this over completely. It seems like metal might be the final push we're going to have here. Mike W has the smoke, and he's on hard breach, but he's not the one with the diffuser. Currently just acting as a decoy here inside of Jacuzzi, but Spiff is holding that cross. He's not going to buy it. There's 15 left. Hakikimori now make their way into Logi. This is where this entire push now depends. Franklin doesn't hit that C4. He needs to stay alive inside of gold, but he's completely blind. In comes B. It's a 2v2 though. Mr. B is going to try and go for kill, but he needs to get the plant down. He manages to, but it's just down to Mr. B. Vocal can just swing on in. Core will retake the site, and Hakikimori, they tried to play the patience game, but Core backed up. They didn't give them any early round picks, and it came back to bite Hakikimori in the end. It is 3-3. It is all tied up.
And you've got 1 minute and 15 seconds. You've got Flores. You have the ability to clear more util on site. And you just call an audible, like at that point, and just rush and hope? Everybody, to be fair, everyone on the attack looked like they were winning gunfights. It turned into a 2v2 by the end, so clearly something about the take was working, especially just seeing Amira get knocked on her ass is satisfying as hell. But the very, very end of it, it looked like it fell apart. If it comes down to gunfights within the last couple of seconds, that is very much a hope and pray ploy. Because if you don't think you've got what it takes to do your original execute and you decide, screw it, we'll make a rotate, try attacking from a different angle and hope that that's something that they don't expect, then the surprise play, it's not a guarantee it's going to work. You kind of have to hope that it does and hope that your entire team has their guns ready and they know the exact spots they have to look. So for Hakikimori, I don't mind the adjustment. They gave it a try, but for Core, kudos to them for deciding we're going to keep everybody on site. We won't do the red extension. We won't go to cash. We'll keep everybody close by and also make sure the Mira is still in position to play in Gold Vault in Logi without dying to something super reckless at the beginning of a round. They made a good adjustment. It worked out, and I feel like for Hakikimori, they're like, wait, there's nobody here. We can't get any early picks. They kind of didn't know what to do by the end. So now we'll make the swap, and we'll see whether Hakikimori on defense is able to do better than Core did and close this map out.
I love looking at the scoreboard for all 5 of these players because they're just so damn equal. This is the most, probably one of the most equal scoreboards I've seen by a half switch. This is Clubhouse. It is one of those maps that kind of just equalizes itself out. But yeah, that is pretty impressive. Again, goes to show all 10 of these players are perfectly capable. I mean, why else would you pick them up if you're Core, for example? Getting Spiff, Focal, and Rival, and Franklin completely switching up their roster 3/5 of which come from that old Nightmare team.
Mm-hmm.
Vil is staring across the battlefield at his old teammates. It's very interesting. That Nightmare roster, obviously famous at this point for winning Element 4 as SSG Academy, then going on to completely bomb out of groups. Recited will bomb out of this round, much like XGS did, or New Core rather. Rival, however, gets taken down. The Blackbeard is here.
Whoa.
Vocal, one of the other two shield players in this lobby, gets rid of Kento. It somehow equalized itself out, as both Recited and Kento on opposite sides of the map, kind of just taking their own fights and winning them, but then losing them. Now 3 apiece.
Yeah, my question would be, can Core use a Blackbeard or any other shield as effectively as Mr. B did when they were in the first half? Right now, not too bad, but they do lose Hard Breach, and I'm not sure if they did anything to get any of the hatches before the Hibana died first. And then you lose someone who can also help you keep track of somebody who might be playing off-site. But it's still 2 good frags back. We equalize it a 3-3, and we've still got a minute to go. But for Hakikimori, they've all now decided to cloister on the site, except for Mike W. He still wants to play the aggressive part and look up to main stairs before he falls back. Mr. B has already been here. And Vil at the very top of blue is also... It might make life difficult if Core decide they want to push onto site sooner rather than later, and the only guy that's on site is Mr. B, but instead that blue play does work. Vil will come up, grab the kill. There's nobody back on the window for the refrag. Now the Deimos comes over, but it might just be a little bit too late. He'll get scanned, but I don't think there's going to be anything you can really do in this situation. He'll still take the fight anyway. Why would you do that, Vil? He tried for a couple seconds, but at 30 seconds to go, we'll see if Core have enough time to make this execute through the Goyo fire.
Actually, Vil got naded there. He was already stuck inside of Secret. Already committed to that fight. Couldn't win it. Beautiful shot out of Spiff, but now they're completely blocked off by fire, and if you check their health, they really don't want to run through it, so they're going to wait for it. Cross is being held, though, by Mike W. Just completely takes down the entirety of that 2-man attack. Core will lose out and will now be... now it's Hakikimori who will take the lead, and that was interesting. I mean, it felt like Core were very much the opposites of Hakikimori on that attack, for they were very split up. Very much playing their own separate games at times. Hakikimori liked to play like a unit, whereas Core just kind of played very spread apart. You could see that kind of happening in this specific replay as well, where Franklin goes down, where Kento's completely alone, where Recited ended up dying. Every single one of these gunfights that was won by Core on their roam clear was traded or was kind of just 1v1, right? Like, there was not a lot of cohesion out of Core. Hakikimori took full advantage of that, and by the end, they just wasted enough time for Core to not really have an attack established, and especially Vil losing his life there, I started to get a little concerned for Hakikimori getting naded inside a Secret and then losing that fight against Spiff. But regardless, the push still had to come, and the timer at the end of the day was the 6-man. Now Core on the back foot on this attack. Hakikimori definitely didn't look like the strongest team in the world on their last defense, but I am still just a little bit concerned.
One round of shield play for Core didn't look too bad. It was phenomenal for the top clear, and then by the time he tried to use the shield for the execute, there just kind of wasn't enough time, so it didn't matter too much. But for Hakikimori to keep roamers off-site just long enough ended up working out pretty darn well. Like, when Castle was still upstairs around Moto Hatch at about 1 minute and 15 seconds left, and Hakikimori are still having to deal with somebody who is all the way up blue and hasn't gone back to Generator at about the same time frame, shows that they're totally confident if they need to be a little far away from sight on Church when Bomb is downstairs, and they're like, you know what, we can still expend some manpower upstairs to make sure that we stall for even more time. Seems like they're in a pretty good mindset. First defense goes exceedingly well by all accounts here. They'll transition up and try and see how fast they can clear, and Azami had a CCTV. Though it's not CCTV, it's just for Rafters. This is meant to be for Jim. So the longer that Azami is able to stall in Rafters, the better things will be, and Spiff's the first one to fall as Mr. B Stone Steps decides, yep, that's a pretty easy one to get. Double play as Recited will jump down and try to get another frag, but Vil's also, there's the 3 guys looking at the 1 garage breach, and Rio will answer back, so it's not the end of the world, but whatever Core was trying to do to flush out the garage player failed miserably right there.
It didn't really seem like it had, like, again, it's just Core just split apart again, and taking these individual one-on-ones, it feels like that's just been the most important thing for them. Not really trying to find a way to get rid of the Raptors players from every angle, from every single aspect. They kind of just walked in, and yeah, I mean, it did not work. Mike W at least got cleared out. Again, things looking kind of dire for Core. Not when Kento exposes his head on that angle, and Rival reads it well. Got Rival and Franklin on the double hard breach duo, trying to get rid of Vil. Misses his headshot. A crucial one at that, and Core! What just happened? Hakikimori went for something. I don't know what. Everyone just got aggressive, and Core they completely executed them. What just happened?
I didn't think that at the same time Valk peeks the plat breach, that you were also going to have Mr. B jumping out gym window hoping to get somebody. I mean, when you got to figure there's somebody on the roof watching that side. You have to figure there's somebody there. But at least when Valk goes for a really risky peek around the breach, maybe at that point you keep everyone on site because you know, hey, we've already spent one guy. He's already playing his hero card at that moment. We should probably consolidate and make sure that we can stay on site for when they make the push, but Core didn't even have to worry about the execute there. So 2 rounds in a row on attack, we haven't needed to see them worry about it because we've seen their early game, and their early game's been okay, and then their mid game has flip-flopped from round 7 into round 8. It's been two completely different stories for how Core attacks have gone, and it almost seemed like Hakikimori exposed themselves to just bad angles that they didn't need to be in, and especially that run out was just kind of like a moment for me. But again, we're only at 2 attacks deep. It's all about how Hakiki want to stall for time and how Core decide they want to push in and worry about these setups, which looks like Hakikimori have gone all the way back for the same main red to cash site that Core were trying to defend on their own defensive half, but weren't really able to make work.
Got vocal on the Monty this time around. No longer on the BB. I was just talking about Monty earlier. Clubhouse is a map where he fares very well. Especially against one thing in particular, that Rafters push. Probably one of his best uses. Just shove the Monty up the Rafters stairs. Potentially up red as well, where Vil currently lies. Down through the drone hole by Franklin. Very unusual way to die, but it is the way that it looks like Vil is going to go out, but he gets rezzed. Not sure how Core couldn't jump on that. Maybe they didn't know about it. Sighted also has his zombies, so Vil's perfectly safe, albeit just a little bit worse for wear. But Core, so far just currently positioning themselves outside of cash, and we'll find nobody home.
Opting for a Monty as opposed to a Blackbeard, and it's all just smokes. Looks like after Vil was lying in a pool of his own blood for a second that Hakikimori decided to pull the defense all the way back off, and they'll just smoke to confirm it, but you only have 1 smoke and 3 smokes in total. Now for the execute in the event that you want to just move through Con and try to plant on Master as fast as possible. And you do that with a Glaz. That seems like the entire thing that this attack is predicated on. So if they're able to nab a kill within the next 20 seconds or so before they really start worrying about this execute, then things will look a lot better. But I feel like you want to do this when you've got logic control first. So Frost will have the ability to play spoiler, hanging out in stash just for a second, but you don't want to peek at Glaz, and I think they have an idea that the Glaz is in the lobby at this point. So peeking anything where there's smokes on the board is absolutely not going to work out for them. Core within the span of this last minute. It's a matter of how fast they want to push this. Monty's already got a little bit of this control, so if they're able to plant where it looks like they want to plant, Core are going to need to find a way to counter a Glaz with just a couple more smokes here, and they've already done a lot of utility burn.
Rio gets taken down though, but in come Core looking to try and get this plant down. I think we might have a listen in as well. Gonna pause and see if we do. Lol. I lied. In comes Rival. 2 for him. Recited and Mr. B to die inside of Logi. It's a 4 versus 2. Cores, this is going so well as Rival gets a 3rd. Mike W will expose his location too. Rival might go headhunting. He's the first one on that contact. But in comes Focal to completely lock Mike Dub out of this round. Focal has so much info over where Mike Dub is. It's Franklin to confirm. Core, they get gifted around thanks to Rival's heroics. Rival GN does himself and his team well. Hakikimori, they had the lead for a moment at the beginning of this half, but will now lose it.
So when you've got a Glaz on the board, when you're on defense and you hear a Glaz's gun, especially for a site like Gym that's already like super compact and there's not many angles out of it, you probably need to assume that Glaz is about to be used on the execute unless he dies quickly. Both those kills from Rival were sweet, by the way. I think he made it 3 by the end of it. So when you hear it, I think it's more like, what other options do we have to nullify the execute and the plant when it happens. Does that mean putting somebody else off site? Does that mean trying to put a nitro downstairs to... I mean, it's hard to do, but it's totally possible to put a nitro downstairs and try to stop the plant as it's going down. But everyone on Mori just decides we're going to stick in the same positions that we're in. We're not going to get over aggressive and peek. But then when the smokes happen and the glass is in there, they just don't have a response. There's nothing they can do. Their sight lines are blocked off. They don't have a warden to see through anything. And it's a really good pick from QOR because ultimately Hakikimori, they kind of realize they don't really have that many options, and hopefully they can win gunfights, or maybe they can see around a smoke as opposed to through it in the event that a smoke doesn't go down in the exact spot where it's supposed to go. But then you've got the Monty there at the exact same time who's going for a plant. He's got armor when he tries getting the diffuser down. So far, QOR on attack. They look like they've got answers. And again, through the first couple series that they've played in the finale, they have yet to lose this map, and I think so far we're starting to see just the little choices that they make that might help them win what is arguably the harder half here.
Huh? QOR very adamant on what their setup is going to be. Got themselves the buck. They want to get that verticality through. Seems like, given the player positions, a full roam clear might also be in order. Could also be wrong about that. I feel like a simple drone to figure out that you got no real presence. Or do you? I don't know if I can see it. I'm trying to look for those little dots of orange. Yeah, I see 2 players upstairs. So there are going to be some roamers for Hakikimori. How will QOR end up dealing with it? Well, you can actually listen to them as they try to deal with it. Kento as above below. Recited gets cleared out though. Things are going well for QOR. Let's take a listen into their comms.
You walk your main castle, halfway up.
Can you
walk your main?
No, I died.
Yo, Christian, one might be in con.
Do they have a bar? Do they have a kitchen Valcam rival?
Yeah, they do.
One's con rival.
It's con. It's gonna be vigil.
Heard. I'm
gonna walk on my.
Walking up red. Red killed me. He made it back down.
Ran down. Vigil's still upstairs. Vigil's still upstairs. We're running down around. He's in secret.
Heard.
I should take bar.
Yeah, Vigil out.
What?
Frank, bar cam is up. I can shoot.
Do they have a player in bar? Can someone get a drone here?
It could be a castle. I can drone it.
BP on ping.
It was castle. I'm assuming you left.
I'm checking bar now. They have a C4. I guess a Val came in stock maybe.
Castle dead.
Nice shot.
Nice.
2v3.
Lounge. We have a late lounge flank cam.
Yo, right.
Vigil in church. Vigil in church behind the bomb.
Bomb is down secret, guys.
Do you have...
30 seconds to go. They've already made a little bit of progress, but it's not totally sure exactly from where they want to push. They got to grab diffuser first. And overall, the big problem is even if it's only a 3v2 at 20 seconds left, they still seem like they're a little bit splintered, and Hakikimori, they will be able to cover trades even as soon as someone were to drop, but if you're trying to do it through Goyo, and Franklin's already been down a couple of HP, so he's going to just go in and hope, but they both grab 1 kill apiece. Suddenly it's just Vil, but he knows that he can isolate a couple of 1v1s here. If he can get it against the Habana, and he does, so all he has to do is stick against the box. 1v1 against him and Rival, but one of them's got the shorter scope, and Vil will pop up from the other side of the box, and Hakikimori will force us all the way to break point. Whatever QOR was trying in that execute, it does not work.
Wow. That is rough. Vil just absolutely hitting his stride. It's tied up 5-5 now between QOR and Hakikimori. This game, I mean, we prayed that it would be a good one. It's happening. Kind of as expected, but for QOR, they're starting to get a little bit nervous. Their stronghold map, Clubhouse, starting to not really go their way. I mean, it's just rough. I think that this is the one map where it really feels like QOR should be stronger against Hakikimori, should be proving us wrong, but it has been so back and forth. Both teams very much equal. And that is kind of, I mean, I would say it's worrisome for Hakikimori, just given traditional thought, or rather for QOR, just given traditional thought, and oh my god, it's QOR's map pick and one of their best maps.
Right,
This is also, bear in mind, a pretty good map for Revelations / Hakikimori whenever they were around. Right? Like, Clubhouse is also a good map for Hakikimori. This is way easier than you'd think it would be for maybe Hakikimori to stay in this game. But both teams not letting up so far. It's been a very equal affair so far. See if that changes.
If Mike's able to get a kill off this... No, he gets swung on! Somehow the 4-7 meme is back on the window faster than the SMG is. Well, to be fair, when you're in that angle, you do kind of expose yourself. All the 417 has to do is just spray the right side of the window when he gets the frag, so... Not a good play for Mike W. And QOR will now have... I mean, it's basically a 5v5 if you count the 6th man that is time that's usually on the defensive side. And everyone so far on attack has been really good about getting the external walls open and then forcing pressure from there. But there's another one for Focal. Not about to let this one go easily, even though Vil is trying to get a play from the outside. But Vil also, by the way, quietly having himself a 13-kill map. So it looks like won't be able to use it for the rest of this one. QOR happy that he's now off the board, but they've made some progress, but still haven't gotten a ton of map control yet, so that's ultimately going to be their next step.
Wonder if QOR are maybe going to actually forego the amount of map control that you'd expect of a typical CC take. Maybe going into Rafters, maybe forcing yourself in through Con, because they have the Raura. I actually think that QOR are going to try and Raura off red, and then possibly, I don't know if you can Raura windows. I don't think you can. I think they're going to try and Raura off red, and then basically just passively fight this Rafters guy until they can just find a way to cross in. Realistically, they just need to burn Recited and Mr. B's utility. That won't be an easy task. You have one C4 that can instantly kill. You also have Mr. B on the smokes that can last a long time. So how they get around that is the next question! Franklin gets rid of Kento! This push is suddenly a lot easier! Thanks to Franklin! One of the newest pickups to QOR, and one of the best hard breach players to really come into T2. Franklin has been a diamond for this team, and so is Focal in this round, as it's 3 for him on the DMR. Didn't even use a single Raurator, and QOR, match point. They're bringing it to Hakikimori on this defense.
Focal and Franklin waking up on that one. Focal with the first 2, making sure that no one dies on a spawn peak or even a run out. I'm not even sure we got the second frag, but he also ends with the last kill on the round. And then Franklin decides a little bit of trickery on the repel as Thermite is all we really need. As long as that Azami stayed alive, I thought there was a chance that Hakikimori still had a shot in this round, but Franklin says absolutely not. A little bit of repel trickery through those holes is enough, especially as Azami was not looking toward breach. If Hakikimori were able to keep Rafters alive, if Azami stays there for just a little bit longer, I think they still had a shot. And then QOR are like, nah, we'll let Franklin do some Thermite things and push us on to match point, no problem. And to your point, they didn't even have to use the Aurora at all. Like, she was in the lobby and got a couple kills, but you could have done the same thing with a Lion or a Twitch with the same gun. Not a problem for QOR. They force match point first. All they're trying to do is keep their undefeated streak on Clubhouse in the finale alive and go to Border, which is a really good map for Hakikimori, and QOR haven't played that nearly as extensively. The map 2 is about to be cinema, but map 1's already been really good.
Vil showing up huge against 3/5 of his former team. A team that, again, I feel like has a lot to prove. Franklin's Thermite charge, yep, going down.
Oof.
The Vil's Bandit trick, the aforementioned Nightmare player. Getting the best out of the XM80X hard breach. Currently the most kills on the board. Seems like Spiff is going to try and up his, as he might fly in here with the Thermite sound. He does. There's no way they heard that. In comes Spiff. Shotgun in hand. QOR might want to end this one quickly. They're already in sight with Diffuser. 4 people towards this side of the map. They've got so many shotguns as well. Recited. Gonna eat a ton of damage, but Focal actually loses that. Thanks to Vil on that cross. Kento also claims rival, and it's 2 for Kento. Hakikimori have found themselves back in this, but Franklin going huge. A triple! Maybe for Franklin, that was a down player, and it's all down to Mr. B. 1 versus 2. This push went so well, but it might just fall into flames. It's a shotgun versus a shotgun, but it's Spiff to win it out. It's his shot. 2 for Spiff, 3 for Franklin, map 1 for QOR.
So when Hakikimori decide they want to go quick, they use a Blackbeard and try to just barrel into sight, and QOR have their number. But when QOR decide they want to go quick, it's Ying shotgun, it's a Maru timed at the same time as a thermite goes off on Jacuzzi. It's all timed beautifully. They have their positions far more dialed in, and they decide the best thing to do when they go on match point after what was a very closely contested clubhouse was just to get that sucker over with as fast as humanly possible. Core win their pick. They are now 3-0 on clubhouse through their first 5 series in finale. Everything for them was going really well. For Hakikimori, they gave it a shot, but ultimately, despite that little advantage they had in the first half by going up with 1 additional attacking round in the first half, still wasn't enough for them to push all the way through. So, I'm excited about Border, but look, we knew this series was going to be good when we came into it, and it's delivering so far, which you'd kind of expect that from 2 teams that are about to be back in the Tier 2 scene in just a couple of weeks. So, I'm already having fun with this one.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the players that I even just looked at and went, yeah, like this is a really exciting player to watch. Completely popped off. I want to sing my praises to Franklin, who had a tremendous map. Honestly, one of the craziest hard breach players I think that I've seen. Kind of just
really
build
good.
himself up. Yeah, just came on that M80X roster and made an impression instantly. One of the best so far. So I want to give my praises to him. Vil also having a huge map. Mr. Winston. A lot of individual performances that game were really, really good. I actually look back, looking back at my scoreboard, the worst players were players on Hakikimori, who had like 5 kills, but you also had that on Core. It was a very equal game in the end. So I think that there was a lot of equal love for all these players on both these teams. But yeah, Clubhouse goes in the way of Core in the end. I said that if they wanted to prove themselves, I think that, this is the game to do it. And going out 7-5 on club and kind of fixing your attacks that were really sort of bad at the start, but really improved towards the end, shows a lot of strengths here for Core. I think this is a team that could inevitably go very far, but you still have map 2, you still have Border, and you still have a really tough challenge ahead of you, because map 3 could also be in the way. But map 2 is where we're going to have to go to next, so we'll be right back before that.
Put you in the driver's seat. Don't gotta hurry in the name of love. When you ride with me, don't gotta worry when tomorrow comes. I'll put you in the driver's seat. Don't gotta hurry now, 'cause we stay in control in the name of love.
When we came into this play day, we knew Core was going to be a tough challenge because they had yet to lose a series, but Hakikimori are entering their third game and up to this point had yet to lose a map. They were 2-0, things looked like it was smooth sailing for a bit, but they had not played a game against an opponent with a full 5-stack. All of the maps that they had played up until tonight had been against teams with a sub. Then they go into a game against Core, who themselves looked like they just needed a bigger challenge, and we get a 7-5 absolute blackout banger between two teams that are about to be knee-deep in the Tier 2 system in just a couple of weeks. So now we head into map 2. Hakikimori have finally dropped a map, but we'll see how they respond as we move on to their map pick.
Yeah, probably gonna have a ferocious response for sure. I think that, you know, Revelation. Wow, ferocious. What a word I just used there. That's
good one.
Honestly, I would say the best way to describe it. Revelation's very strong border team. Whenever they were called that, now under Hakikimori, I expect nothing to change. Despite the fact that you picked up Vil and your roster can maybe move a little differently than before, I still think that Vil is a great role player. So no matter what you really put him on, he's just gonna do fine. So it really isn't gonna take that much time for this team to get adjusted. I think more than anything, Core are gonna have to be the ones that are gonna have to adjust to a very aggressive environment against a team like Revelations, who can absolutely up it every single time that they need to. If 5 players on their team that are perfectly capable of playing passive or aggressive. And they have a great IGL to kind of tie it all together. So I think that border could potentially be a lockout, but Core have shown up pretty well on Clubhouse. So we'll have to see if that is going to be any different.
I'll give you some border numbers real quick. Hakikimori have played it 5 times over the past couple of months, whether it's as Revelations or Hakikimori, whatever lineup that Mr. B has assembled for that week, seemingly. They are 4-1. The only time they've lost it was against Coastal Gaming 7-5 in the first qual for NA Challenger Series back in March. So we're talking over 2 months ago since the last time that they lost border, and since then they have a 4-1 record. For Core, no plays since this specific lineup came together. But if you want to go back into Nightmare's history, because there are 3 guys from the old Nightmare team on this roster, it's not quite the same story. It's not to say that it's not a map that you wouldn't have scrimmed or you wouldn't have at least some prep for, and there's still some presence for border within the NA sphere, especially given how much Chalet gets played these days. But now we get to see it in full, a map that we know Mr. B teams are usually pretty proficient at, and Core have already gone up 1-0 in the series, so if they were to drop it, it's not the end of the world. But if we need to go to bank, be a little bit more forward thinking, both teams are good on that map. They've played it a bunch, especially given the lineups that they've got right now. They've both played it at least once, if not twice so far in the past few weeks. So if we need bank, it's going to be close, which means Hakikimori really, really, really need to win their own map pick here.
Yep. Like you said, teams both familiar with bank. That is certainly a Mr. B map, though. By the stretch of the imagination, I think that is a map that he's very proficient on, but not too proficient. Lost it actually in the CS finals, if I'm correct. To JJ and Co. It was their first map loss. It was 5-7. And even up against, funny enough, against Franklin on M80X, also played bank, but they were able to win it as Revelations 8-7. So a lot of decent results there. But focusing on border again, story here is Core certainly not prone to Monty and a blitz ban. Core certainly not prone to being a team that I would say is super strong at border compared to a team like Hakikimori. But no Blackbeard being banned, Jacob. I'm sure that's something that you might have been thinking of. But I think that the Blitz is actually the more popular pick typically for Hakikimori over the BB. Or if they can, they bring both. So do Core. I mean, oh my God, Shields. I mean, you can do a million different things with Shields.
Well, so Monty and Blitz are still the 2 most banned Shield ops. Most banned 2 attackers on border over the past several months. Like, we're counting Siege X at the same time we're counting current build of Siege. So Blackbeard doesn't get banned nearly as often, but will still get played a ton when he's actually in the lobby. So I would assume the same thing will probably be said, if not early on in some pick phases, at the very least through the repick when they figure out what setup that they're going to be working with. But ultimately, the fact that the 2 most banned attackers happen to be Shields and they're both banned in this map doesn't surprise me by too much. The Azami getting banned is also that she's just the single most banned operator on border, period. So that's absolutely not a stunner. And then you have your options between either a Mira or a Valkyrie for your other defensive ban, and Hakikimori opt for the Valk, which does leave the Mira open, but it's not something that they opt to bring for this first round. You've got plenty of flexibility for a couple of other sites if you decide that you want to bring the Vector out, but the only Vector we're going to see, at least in this first round, is Kento. And he'll just be placing those in spots where he knows that once the attack manages to get to a certain point, you really just don't want to sit there. So, dude, Wait, if he had done that, does he then bathe himself in fire on accident because he hits F on the wrong thing? Oh man,
he just explodes. Yes, sir.
He just disintegrates immediately.
Wouldn't be a great start for Kento, who didn't have a great map, I think, for his standards. Went 5 and 10 on Clubhouse. Certainly wishing that he could have done better, I'm sure. As a player of his caliber, very capable.
I heard my name. What?
Nope.
No.
Do this.
Okay, sorry.
Don't do this.
I'll do what? You said my.
Don't do the caliber jokes and this and that. No.
I didn't do it in map 1. I was tempted. I held off.
I know. I said it twice. That's how I was like.
Please be proud of me.
I did the rock eyebrow every time I said it. I was like, I'm gonna say it. I didn't say it. I did this time. I literally forgot what I was talking about. Franklin's in though, so it doesn't really matter. Inside a sandwich, thinking that half wall was cleared, but nope. There's still a player there. Mike Dub for 2. Border actually a map that Mike W likes to pop off on. I can vividly remember many performances out of Mike W on this map. Might have a 3rd kill lined up here, but it's Kento instead to take down Spiff in that trade. Inrio now in a 1 versus 4. Actually has one in his sights, but he's being watched from above and also from that metal area. Inrio, though, at least knows about that. Not being baited by this run out. Has actually claimed recited. Knows where Mr. B is. No one there to help Mr. B just yet. Now nading him out. Okay. Starting to scratch my neck a little bit. Tug my shirt. Getting a little sweaty in here. Inrio might actually have a chance. He's got a DMR in hand. He's got a very deadly gun to work with, but just simply does not have any info. And is not going to be able to lie and ping. He actually has a ping auto player in archives. So if he knows where Mike W is, he's actually going to burn out Kento. Doesn't have to swing just yet, though. Minute remaining. He'll get shot to the wall! Inrio! Are you the man to do it? Playing this so patiently. He does it! 4 for Inrio! Oh my goodness, the man has got the massive brain. Played that so safely, so patiently. Wins it out. Hakikimori biting down on their tongues now. Cannot believe that just happened. But it is Inrio. He's got that clutch gene that not many players have.
Okay, this isn't something you could catch on a replay, but if you watch that clutch back, look at what the rest of the attack is doing. They're all watching Inrio because I don't know if their drones were effective to really do much to help him in this. He flushes every player out individually by himself with only a 417. That's how impressive this ends up getting. And then, yeah, the 2 route kill as he's fading back away doesn't look like he has the shot, but he does. That's how impressive that clutch was from Inrio. If your entire team does not have the ability to feed you info, and you're doing all of that solo with just a DMR, that is ridiculous.
Well, not to be the contrarian, but there was a ping on the player inside of archives. I do remember that. But I don't know.
Was there? Okay.
I don't know if that wallbang was a ping. I'm not sure about that. That is a question mark.
Was? There. I just vividly, I'm like, there might have been one dude who had a drone, and then everyone else is just watching Inrio at that point.
That was insane.
That was.
I mean, this is the guy that teamed with Giddy. They just share the clutch gene, I guess. I don't understand what's going on. I actually remember you saying Vivid, and I was very tempted to go, no, Vivid doesn't team with Inrio anymore. He's actually coaching Cloud9.
I need you to not make the Entero puns, please.
I mean, yeah,
that's his
apparently
brand.
I got the hair, even though he stole it from
infringement.
me. Gimmick infringement. He's got a gimmick now. He's a gimmick character in Terror the Caster. Me too. I've got a gimmick. It's just Adam the Unemployed Caster. Rest in peace, my job.
You're not the only one.
Ha! You're unemployed. Core, however, looking to possibly reach employment. They may be looking to try and become the next Pro League team in a year's time whenever Rels come back. They're looking set for it so far. only a very long road to go for them. But yeah, 1-0 on attack. Actually got Mike W down to very low HP, stuck inside of vents.
Dang.
Swabbing City around here for Core, as it's Smith to claim Mike Dub through the wall. Mr. B also being currently scanned inside of East. Gonna get that one out. Using his smokes, but Recited and Mr. B both gonna fall, or are simply going to walk into the site. There's pretty much nothing stopping them as Villa's gun up. Not able to win that. Saw down to Kento. 2 kills for him. Could potentially have his own in Rio moment, but very unlikely. Site completely bolted down by Core. Just gonna have to get that plant down. Kento surely hears this, though. Now knows he could potentially isolate too. C4's ripped, but it's not gonna hit. Rival will get taken down to low HP. But this cross is certainly not going to be read by Kento. As it is another round claimed by Core.
While they were working over Mr. B at the top of the stairs, and everything's kind of happening all at the same time, there's a bunch of kills, and you're like trying to figure out what to focus on, I swear I heard you go, and yeah, he tried to clear him out of Weast.
No, I did not. I said East. Like, come on. I swear I said East.
It's just that pause, and then East comes out of your mouth, but like not fully confident that he's East. I'm like, huh?
Dude, I don't know what's going on with me. My voice is just like completely gone, and so is apparently my grammar skills.
Look, it does sound better than I would have expected for somebody who was doing a lot of yelling at a wedding. Like, it doesn't sound like it's all dead. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What's the secret? Voice drops, throat goat tea. What do you do?
I don't know if I can reveal that. I do a lot of like chin-ups. I just do it with like my neck. Like, I'm just sitting there like going up and down.
Man has the strongest
with my chin.
neck in the world.
Yeah. And it kind of like, yeah, it just builds the muscles of my neck.
Is it because
so
it's a chin-up, or is that just struggling?
It's what do we call it? We call it neck ups, you know.
Look, everybody has to start somewhere.
I also sometimes try and scream so loud that like the air from my voice pushes me like off the ground. That's also like just to train my throat.
Dude, you scream so loud you astral project? That's sick.
Astral project. That's so different. No. I'm saying like I start floating. You know, I start like I'm.
Oh, you start
screaming
levitating.
So loud.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's like how I train my voice to not go out. Although I was holding in an itch that entire time I was casting. It was really weird. Like, my throat just feels awful. But anyway, not here for an anatomy class or a class on superpowers. Let's figure out what's going on here for Core. They've taken this one a lot slower than previous rounds. Haven't entered the building just yet. Positioning themselves outside of East. That has been an integral part to their push on every site so far. As is typical with Border. A map with plenty of options, but also not a lot of options. A very congested map, very small map. No matter what path you take, you'll always kind of end up in the same area. Really only 2 sides to push per site. But so far, Hakikimori still trying to expand that as much as possible. Playing inside of Office. Manages to back up, though. His rival forces him out, but Phil, I mean, that just goes unchecked. Phil just gets away with a murder. Rival has nothing to show for it. It's a 5 versus 4 in Core. They can't find this trade.
Hakikimori have been doing a really good job of keeping all of Core outside. A big part of it was even at a minute, there just wasn't any map control for Core. They were looking for one entry point, and now all of a sudden, Hakikimori have decided to shut down the one spot where it looked like Core might have been able to make some headway. But they've still got a bunch of CC control. They can just use that to peek down the hallway in case anyone were to come from top east. It's looking pretty darn good on the defense this time because Hakikimori didn't lose somebody early on in the round, and then Core can't just snowball the round into something that just gets away from the defense faster than they have any answer for it. Vocal downstairs decides he wants to take the fight against Vil, but the high ground will win almost every time in that situation. So they'll hold on to Office. Still no control for Core. Even on someone trying to go for a hero play. 30 seconds left, so now someone's going to have to make the push. They will converge on Vil. And they've got more fountain control. Oh, they do, because that's exactly where the Goyo sits, but the mute from around the door will still take control. Hakikimori still have the man count in their favor. Franklin on no man's land has to find some cover, and he does. And Spiff cross map trying to make a difference, but he can't find anything. So now it's all up to Franklin. Even if it gets the wall open, it won't matter. My W's got 2 to close the round out. And that's a pretty good way to answer after 2 rounds that look like they just got completely away from the defense. That's a great way to get back on round 3.
Core, once again, I feel like one of their biggest struggles has been their teamwork aspect. Sometimes they play very spread apart and lose their individual pieces. Kind of saw that happen with Hakikimori for a second once Enryo swung into Fountain, but again, it is just those individual picks that constantly bite Core. Even in this scenario, this was a great trade position inside of Fountain. I feel like swinging into Fountain with the mute in the corner just wasn't the smart move. I feel like you wait for the wall to get open and then you make that swing happen. I get that they wanted, they got the kill inside of Office and they just wanted to push their advantage, but you don't know what's happening inside of Fountain. It doesn't seem like it was drone. And if it was, it doesn't really feel like there was much thought taken into that swing because that's a very easy trade to make. That is a very default trade to make. You wait for that Archives wall to get open. You force the mute out of that position, and then you can make that happen. You saw that Franklin was eventually able to get the wall open, but the round was basically over by then. So maybe they struggled to deal with the mute jammer. Maybe the clock overcame them in that moment. But regardless of what happened, just didn't really seem like a great push from Core. They've had 2 very good ones to kind of start out their attack. They can certainly convert once more, but Hakikimori will at least get a start on this border defense.
I'm going to mute Mozzie on defense this time around. All we need is a Vigil, and suddenly I would get my mind thrown back to 2020, which I don't think I want, so I appreciate Mr. B for not going that route on defense. You've also got the Ella pick, which there's not a shield to play off of there. So that then begs the question whether that ends up being a wasted pick, but if Vil likes the Scorpion, then that's kind of enough reason to pick it right there, especially if you're intending to play off-site with it. Mute Jammers plus Mozzie are making things a little bit more difficult for the Brava to move in, but still opted to pick the Brava, even with a mute on the board. Mute Mozzie. The defense isn't doing anything nearly that crazy, just playing in some default positions, and Core are pretty significantly split. Everyone is in a different part of the map. With the exception of Focal and Rival, they look like they're working as a 2-man team. Franklin will use the Candelas to at least go for a distraction play. Oh, and Nitro Cell gets shot. There might be space for them to go for a plant. Buck will provide cover while Brava gets the plant down, and there's nothing to really stop them because they've got bathroom control for free, and it's just up to Rival to do some excellent cover work, and he does. 4 versus 3 up top. Vil can't do anything from his position, and Focal will continue to get his own frags now. So it's just Kento. He's got a Nitro, but there's everyone from the attack is just cross-map through the wall. No one's going to give him an opportunity to do anything about it. And Focal, he can plant, he can frag, he can do everything. And Core right now are opening up a big advantage on border.
Sort of seeing the strengths that we've seen from Hakikimori. Their pace control has been very good, and I'm starting to see a little bit more teamwork out of Core. Kind of the main thing that I pointed them out for in that last round was just the lack of comms and the lack of teamwork. But that time around, push was called, push was played on, push went well, and can't complain about anything there. Big picks out of this Buck from Rival. A player that I think just doesn't get a lot of credit. I feel like one of the reasons why his inconsistencies can sometimes plague him. The players that watch him, they'll see Rival have a bad series and suddenly think that he's really bad. This is Rival GN, of course.
I'm going to say, I figured the main reason people didn't give him his flowers is because the other Rival is currently in Pro League.
I mean, that is also the problem. You know, you're kind of trying to overshadow another player sharing your name that made Pro League and was in the league that you were in where you didn't even qualify for playoffs. Like, there's a lot, I don't know. Rival GN gets a lot of pressure, and I think that sometimes he's very inconsistent, but when he's on, he can win rounds for you. And that is a player that you want to enable for Core. When he's not online, though, things can sort of take a turn for the worse. For Core, it's about having stamina in this border game. Things can and will go wrong. Hakikimori might find a way back into this. You have to be ready to bounce back of your Core, because attack is that's your advantage to try and take advantage of this game.
Focal will bring the Blackbeard back out, and ooh, Mike Passport will just nab Franklin. Homie was gunned down. My W says, I'll take that one for free. Thanks very much. And Blackbeard can at least grab Diffuser, but For a guy who was in Passport and didn't have any other way to leave other than just through the door, he was all alone. And suddenly the ace gets caught with his pants down. He trips over himself. And now Hakikimori on defense is looking a lot better.
Well, like I said, Core, this is their best chance, really, to climb in round count. They're already starting off kind of rough. Got rid of Franklin. Vocal also taking a ton of damage from half wall as he tries to force Vil out of this position. Nade potentially going to force a player out of half wall, and that's recited. Gets cut down by Rival, and Rival's making space as well. He's gotten 2. Vil's still inside of CC as well. Doesn't get spotted. It's 1 by Spiff and Focal. Mr. B trying to go for that retake. Gets rid of the shield, but dies in the process. Core looking phenomenal once again off the back of that double kill from the man that we were just talking about, Rival. I mean, this is unbelievable. What a performance out of Core on this attack. Can Mike Dub really do anything about it?
Even without a shield up, Core looking like they can still take this one. And the only thing that Mike's got is the ability to maybe stop a plant if he's able to use Solus's gadget to stop it as it goes down. But he will need to isolate a couple 1v1s if he wants to have a hope of doing what Inrio did in the first round. They'll get droned out, spot in customs. They at least know he was here a few seconds ago, and he'll stick around bottom metal, but the rest of Core have already gone back to site with the hopes to plan, and they do. Nothing that Mike can do from this distance, and somehow he doesn't get his head taken off by the DMR, but now you have to deal with that upside-down rappel player on the outside. Even after you clear through 2 guys who were in bathroom, there was even a Twitch drone looking directly at the rotate, and both guys will pop up at the same time. Crossfire will take his head off, and Spiff will be the one to do it. Suddenly, a round that looked like it absolutely could have worked for Hakikimori, Core just turned the pressure up. Gas all the way on the floor, pedal to the metal. They don't worry about losing Franklin early on, and they still win that one, and it's a landslide victory, too.
Honestly, being very, very honest here, did not see where Rival got those 2 kills. Wish I did, because they arguably had the most impact in that round. Also, the player, I believe, Vil, being spotted out in the corner by Focal, dodging a headshot, turning to his left before he dies. That was also integral. A lot of bad luck for Hakikimori. But again, Rival was probably the main focus there. And had himself a great round. Core now up 4-1. Jacob, this is a very concerning twist in this game for Hakikimori. Did not expect this scoreline. Hakikimori are a team that can come back. There's not anything to really worry about here if you are Hakikimori. But if a 5-1 round happens, I mean, then you start to get a little bit of shivers.
The only real difficulty is Hakikimori have been in close map after close map so far. All 5 that they've played have gone to like round 11 or higher. So none of them have been a map that they've just walked over their opponent so far. But in all of those cases, they won, with the exception of the one that they just lost about 30 minutes ago. So they know how to keep games close. It's absolutely not the end of the world, but for Core, they've been able to decimate on some halves, and again, at a tier 2 level, it begs the question of, if you're down by 4 rounds, is that so insurmountable for your opponents that they can't come back from it? So if we were to see a 5-1 half, oftentimes in tier 2, I don't really know if that's something you can come back from. Hakikimori need to lock in on defense and try to be a little bit more unpredictable, because Core so far have had good pacing, they've had good teamwork, they've read through everything Hakikimori have done on this defensive half. If someone's able to get an early pick, the same way that they were at the beginning of last round, that might be enough to turn the tides here. Ooh, looking for one, and he finally gets it. So that's perfect. Kento opens up exactly the way that Hakikimori need. And that's just Spiff walking in solo. Nothing that he could have done there, even though the Goyo was right in front of him and was even had a Dokubi call out at the same time. Honestly, at 1 kill, and that does force Core to sit back and be like, okay, well, what do we do now? That's really good for the defense to try and get their second round.
Grim gone too. That is a massive pick. Can't really enable the Kabatow as much as you'd want to, although probably aware of Kento's position. It's the best usage I can think of right now of Kabatow's asphyxiation bolts, but then again, Core have a lot more things to worry about. Hakikimori, as you can see, completely stretched across the map. They have so much map control to play around with right now. Unless they can get rid of Kento here. And
Nice.
so shut him down through the hatch. Big pick. And Franklin as well! Rival as well! We keep saying their names, and it's because they have huge impact, but Franklin throws himself alive! I kind of expected that to happen. He just aims the Capitao too shallow and catches on fire inside of Radio. Arguably what could be a turning point. Recited has himself set up for a flank. There's 45 minutes. There's so much potential for Core to do something here. Mike Dub trying to find the player inside of Fountain. Almost claims one. Does to Focal. Are you kidding me? Is this 4v2 about to slip away? Rival says no. 8 kills to his name, but he's gonna have to get a 9 as Mike Dub shuts down in Rio. The clutch player, the 101 versus 4, now leaves it up to Rival, who hits his shot. I've been gassing him up so much, and he's been delivering. Rival with 9 on the board, and Core with 5.
This is the territory we get into and we ask, can teams at this level actually come back from a 5-1? 90% of the time, the answer is no. Whether it's the mental getting shot or the strats just aren't there, whatever happened in a 5-1 half is usually too much for the team that only has one round to come back from. That round was super important, and it still manifested in nothing because Core were hitting their shots. They understood when to position and when not to peek, and then Mike W at the wrong moment decides to peek all the way from half wall down long against an ACOG, and Core get their 5th. So can Hakikimori do anything on a map that they have been good at the past couple months? Again, 4-1, only lost it one time in a BO3 context, and it was fine because they still came back and won that series. So on Border, we know they're good, but Core were adaptable in the first half. Their pacing was good, their teamwork was good, even when it looked like they were stretched and they were too far spaced out from one another. They still had one person covering a planter was all they needed to force that first half to go their way. So now Hakikimori have to wonder, is picking a Blackbeard and letting our IGL give us a lot of intel with the ability to be aggressive, is that going to be enough for us to push past Core and not just get around a 4-round deficit? Try and win their own map pick, which is going to take even more than 4 rounds.
Well, Mr. B, he certainly passed the Blackbeard driver's license test with flying colors. And absolutely operate that thing. No question about it. So, have a lot of hope on Hakikimori's Blackbeard. Do I have hope on the comeback? That is also the question. Recited spots a gap, runs straight past the verticality. And Hakikimori now going to try and force their way through into East. And here's the one thing that Blackbeard does pretty well now, and that is soft breach. You can soft breach walls, you can soft breach castles. Very great at those things. A much needed improvement for BB. And he'll just smash through all those castles in towards East and establish that East control pretty early on. But for Hakikimori, they're looking at the bigger picture here, trying to get a kill in towards 90, trying to maybe find a player into Office, anything like that to open up a gap for their attack.
They're trying to force Mute into a bad spot in Office right now. It looked like he was cornered for a second. And there's a bit of an audible. Mr. B did a little bit of work to help with Office, and now he's decided, nope, I want CC control instead. And there's still a rotate he has to worry about. The Sens will give him cover to make sure that he doesn't get shot while he works over the Wamai. But the problem is that nade still might catch him, but no! Good headshot from Mr. B, but cross map, there is still a frag back. Looks like a Rooney right back around with the DMR trying to work over a Blackbeard, but again, Mr. B is still solo on this side of the map, and Hakikimori need to try and work over Office at the same time that there's all of this distraction happening, and that is exactly what Recited does. He'll knock out Focal. About a minute to left, it's still good time for Hakikimori, and they've got players in positions waiting for someone to cross, maybe a bad rotate or something, but a Nitro will at least grab Villain. Franklin answers downstairs. I don't know if anybody was even aware of it. Nitro for Mr. B does connect, but only after the diffuser goes down, but it doesn't matter. Rivals got the cross. Everything worked out beautifully in the end on defense, and now Core are on series point after Hakikimori tried getting cute on the audible.
This has to be the Rival buff, right? Like, Rival is in chat watching Rival. and honestly is rivaling him very impressively. I think that Rival is absolutely having himself a great game. And I'm glad that Rival is allowed to see Rival succeed. You know, like, this is awesome. This is a great moment. But Core 6-1 off the back of Rival, off the back of a big round from Franklin as well. One thing that I was going to highlight in that round, but I didn't really get the time to, because it didn't really matter in the end, was Core's lack of C4 kills on Clubhouse against Mr. B and against those shields. They just got 2 C4 kills that last round, and those C4s helped out exponentially for Core. It always felt like they were confident in that retake. All the pieces were flowing super well. Hakikimori, they just lost their first map in TPL XGS literally just a few minutes ago, and they're very much looking to be threatened to lose their first game against a Core who have just looked unstoppable on borders so far. Both these teams have been invited to Element, and right now Core are showing up way stronger than Hakikimori, than their counterparts who got second place in Challenger Series. This X-Nightmare roster is really showing why they had all the potential in the world. Maybe Challenger Series was just a bluff, because this is a team that looks completely brand new.
Yeah, this lineup in particular, this 5-stack had not played Border in the finale quite yet. Obviously, the Nightmare Core would have had more experience with it, and then when everybody in Tier 2 breaks apart and comes together and you kind of see what rosters come out on the opposite side of the tornado, then you hope that some of that previous map experience can carry over, even if it's not the same 5-stack anymore. But so far for Core, it's looking really good. It's just for Hakikimori to come in and have only lost Border once in the past 2 to 3 months. With all the different lineups that Mr. B has put together, you would think that this one would be a little bit closer, especially after how close Clubhouse was. That looked like it was setting us up for a good old 3-mapper. And especially for Bank, that would have been great, but we might not get there unless Mr. B and company can scrape 5 rounds together in a row. It's all about how much pressure they're able to force first. They've not been doing too much kill ISO. They've tried, but it doesn't look like it's been as effective as they need, even though it's only been 1 attacking round. So they need to catch somebody from Core off guard, then move on that. And with a minute left, there's still nobody really in the building quite yet. They're still waiting for their opportunity to take space, and that's exactly what Mr. B does, as he's already got balcony control.
Or now trying to fight uphill. Their Focal stuck inside of open, actually. Very precarious position he was in. Tried to smoke top east. Gets caught out by Recited. That is a very important pick on a Focal who is in a pretty aggressive position for a smoke, I might add. But regardless, Franklin at least able to get the trade. So, of course, still in this, but Kento getting taken down, has not been having himself a fantastic game, I would say. Not to his standards for sure. Sir Tyler, so sorry. Just not your day. But for Core, looking to make it their day. Their sister team, Core Academy, not able to get the job done in their last game. Hopefully the org that they, or hopefully the team that they expect to do better will do better. As Hakikimori now walking into the bomb site, nades in hand. They are so close to just getting this execute underway. And Jacob, there's more importantly, the absence of a smoke. So C4s are your only throwable. Hakikimori will try and take space in. They get a kill, and now they start to get this plant down. But the C4 still to worry about. In it goes, but it gets stuck! It gets stuck, but the plant doesn't go down in time. Recita gets taken down. Core have retaken this. It's a 2 versus 2. The plant not completed. Mr. B now are going to have to force his way in with Vil, and he does. It's all down to Rival. He's had an impressive game so far. Can he tally up 14 kills in a 1 versus 2 clutch? He's going to have to race against the clock. Twice to go on the Vil, but Hakikimori will win. Or not in the 2-0 just yet. Hakikimori still have breath.
Am I crazy, or did it look like the Blackbeard and the Finka just got to the spot where they were trying to plant, and nobody from Core was even looking in that direction? Like, their castle barricaded off, so even when you go down like half wall, then there's no way that anybody can even see you because the castle barricade's there. But no one turns around. No one even looks in that direction up until Finka goes in and I think, kills the... Was it Fenrir? No, it wasn't Fenrir.
The smoke.
But the first frag that they get goes completely untraded. Then they just go back, try planting again, pull off for some reason. And they manage to play trades just long enough to get in there and get themselves their second round of the game. So, for Core, is it that the extension was a little bit too disjointed and they just provided an opportunity? There was a gap very clearly for Hakikimori to go in find one kill, try to plant, and then hope that they're able to slip in there without getting stunted on from vertical. But whatever opening they were given, they used effectively. Core kind of sent scrambling at the very end. But they've bought themselves so many match points that to let one slip, even if it's a 1v2 at the very end, they've got those to give away. And they're not even giving them away. They still are trying to use them effectively. And Vil fat-fingered a lion charge. Unlucky. Hope the intel is worth it to you, dude.
I think it might be... Could be a fat finger. Could also be scanning to get some early marks for the Deimos.
With Lion in 2019 on release, dude. Like,
no. See, I think the idea was that the Lion scan was going to catch out people that didn't really care for it and get tracked by Deimos. And maybe that's what happened, because now Kento has all 5 marks. Unless that's like a UI bug, I'm pretty sure. Lion tracked the operators and pinged them, and there you go. But there's a mute, so I'm wondering how that happened. Unless the mute got spotted early and no one else was near the jammers. I don't know. But regardless, that's a lot of useful intel, and you can see that intel is the name of the game for Hakikimori. They've got the Lion, they've got the Deimos, they've got the Dokebi. They're going all out for trying to get rid of these roamers, and why not? I think at the end of the day, that's what Core stacked up the most, and you can see that that's also going to come into play as Inrio opens up the wall and tries to get 2. He only gets 1. He gets traded out in return, but Hakikimori are up in numbers.
Kento will grab another one. Local falls, and now Franklin and Spiff. Honestly, a 2v4 in this position feels like it's winnable, but you might have to leave one on site and then have one try to flank around. And that seems like what Franklin's trying to do, but Spiff's the one on site, and he gets his head taken off very quickly. So Franklin might still be able to grab one. I think Mike W is a free. Oh, he's not! Just barely, and then Deimos is still alive. But Kento, ooh, he does die, though. So maybe there's still a chance, but SMG-12 against the world. Mike W gets downed. Suddenly it turns into a living drone against 2, but Franklin is still so far off site. He can make the drop happen, but there's still a shield to deal with, and Mr. B has already gotten plant down in the spot that's so difficult to retake. So Franklin will now try to do what Rival was trying to do last round, but Vil, hiding in the corner, will clean up effectively again. So 2 straight bathroom attacks now for Core. Or, I mean, they gave it a try, but Hakikimori really had that site dialed in.
6-3. We say that these comebacks are impossible, and yet we turn our heads sort of still in disbelief. We look back at the game, we're like, nah, it's not going to happen. Core are just going to walk away with it. And then we walk again, you know, kind of just thinking about it, not really thinking that's going to happen, just realizing, all right, well, let's get this over with. Core are eventually going to win. We'll be on our merry way. But as is the case with Mr. B teams, you can never count them out. Throwing punches till the end. They've had 2 pretty good openings in these attacks. They've gotten the opening kill so far both times. And at the very least, if they didn't, they got traded, I think. That was the case with Inrio in that last round. This is going to be... this could be a grueling battle. That sends us into overtime if Core can't find a way around this. Hakikimori are a team that can play very unpredictably. They can whip out a strategy that you maybe have never even seen before. So you absolutely have to be careful with counting them out. They could have something new for you every single round. Seems like this time around, though, the BB is still the constant. Got Vil on the Capita, I believe, for the first time here for Hakikimori.
They had intel in their back pocket. I mean, Lion was an option that they were showing, Dokubi as well, but they forfeit the intel ops and go for purely utility and execute material. So, not using any of the intel. I mean, I'm just curious if they need a little bit more to clear somebody out of these offsite positions quickly before the execute happens, and they've not brought util aside from good old-fashioned drones to make that happen. So we'll see whether that ends up biting them later. Got a buck from below. At least work over maybe from custom side and try to come up metal, or at least shut off that choke point. Blackbeard can also work over break, but Mute's also just making things exceedingly difficult for Flores to work over Castle, so it's a pretty good setup, at least right now. Spiff can get this Nitro. He has the possibility of getting 2 right off the rip. The Nitro goes in, but it doesn't connect with anything. Mr. B falls back. He's on half HP, but still a frag for a Nitro would have been great. So Akiki have at least wasted some utility. And they've got 1 player in the building, but also a reinforced hatch, and I don't really think Kento's about to get anything from this spot, because it doesn't look like the Doc's about to give it to him here.
Surely he knows that that's like a, oh, what is, I don't know. Like I thought he just threw a flash at like a shelf.
Yeah.
It's very funny. I don't know why he did that, but he's gonna be challenged on this. He hears Inrio from above, but doesn't clear him out. Almost does, but it is a dock. So Inrio can kind of stay here for a while. I think using the dock to maybe counter the Capitao, but it doesn't matter anymore as the Capitao is dead. Core have gotten 2. Suddenly this game is thrown into disarray, but Rival and Kento both sprinting. Kento gets his gun up first. That is the first kill for Hakikimori in this round. Getting rid of their top frag of Core. There's a pick though from Recited. Okay. Hakikimori have played this well. They've gotten 2 kills and now they can reset almost a third.
How did he survive?
Franklin nearly gives himself away. There's 45 seconds. What a shot from Franklin. Shuts down Recited inside of East. Hakikimori may be getting too aggressive here. Mr. Bean not aware of the player inside of 90. He'll stay alive, but for how long? He's only got 1 HP. It's only down to Kento. In a 1 versus 2. How much are you willing to win this, Kento? Inrio did the same thing in your position inside of 90. But with 20 seconds left, Diffuser is completely guarded and Focal. All he has to do is wait. Core sort things out. They get rid of Hakikimori. And that is a scoreline I was not expecting. I nod my head in shame as my prediction goes wrong. Core are 2-0 against Hakikimori and are looking like they're going to go 5-0 in the group stage. What a showing from this brand new Core roster.
Even tier 2 teams are not immune from the new org curse. You get to slap a new tag on your Uplay, maybe new merch, something else in the bio, and still, you're not able to make it happen when it counts. Core are now 4-0 in the XGS division of the finale. If it wasn't already obvious they were going to playoffs, it's even more obvious now. They've only got 1 game left, and it's against an opponent that has yet to win a series so far. For Hakikimori, that's their first loss. They come in off of 2 games where, again, they had not played a team that was not playing with a sub. So the problem now is when you're able to play against full-strength opponents, what does that look like? But for Core, Adam, I think it's pretty clear that this is the best team in the finale, at least right now. Their record is the greatest. No one else is undefeated still because Hakikimori, up until tonight, was the other undefeated squad. And, well, now they find themselves having to scrap a little bit with other guys like Underagers and Space Shubes because when you lose 1 game, suddenly it becomes a lot tighter at that part of the division.
Man, what a showing from Core. You said it might be the best team in the finale. They also could currently be the best team in T2 and in those leagues above. That was what a showing. I mean, we expect great things, I feel like, out of these players simply because of the history that we had. And I think going into this game, the one thing that remained on the back of my mind was, oh, you know, this is SSG Academy. This is your current like T2 champions. If you don't, you know, like look at Element, they're your current Element champions. We'll say that.
You can find a way to spin it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're your current Element champions, I think is a better way to put it. But then we kind of look at that Nightmare performance and we're like, ooh, you know, that's a big scar. You get
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you get an org inside of Siege that's very brand new that actually is established in other games, and then you lose out and then they're instantly gone. It's like, oh, that's gotta sting. But they came back together as Core, built a roster that I feel like is arguably way better than it could be. I think getting Franklin as your hard breach is like a massive upgrade to anyone you could have had. And also having Inrio, who's super established. Like, there's a lot of things to like about this Core roster, and I've been indicted. I feel like I should be indicted for kind of hating them. So for Core, I apologize. But for Core Academy, you gotta work on that. We'll see though. Currently, mainland Core looks phenomenal so far. So round of applause to them for playing an absolutely amazing game against Hakikimori. But Hakikimori still looked good on Clubhouse. But that border, man, I mean, we got to talk about it. That was shaky.
I think they're definitely going to talk about it in scrims over the course of the next couple of days to see how they can bounce back and make sure that the rest of their time in the group stage, which they still have 2 games that they have to play after this, by the way, does not slide nearly as much as that last border map did. But we started the day with Core Academy coming in, and wait, Core Academy is a thing? Yep, Underagers got picked up by Core. They had a game against Shubes. They came close, but still a 2-1 loss. But Core, the main team, comes back at the very end of the night and secures a very convincing 2-0 victory over one of the other really, really good teams in the XGS division. That's all for us tonight. Adam, thanks a lot for jumping on with me. This was fun. I hope we just keep on getting to do this all the time because it's a blast every time we get the chance to. But we're all done for the night. Thanks very much for joining us on the finale, and we'll be back for even more of this on May the 30th, just in a couple of nights' time. So have a good one. We'll see you then. Take care.